Welcome to Area Effect, guys. I'm Joey. This is Tom.
Hey there.
And this is Greg.
Hey, guys.
And we're talking about E3 today. We still want to talk about our top 5 best and worst of the show and what we liked and what we didn't like about it. So,
Had to let it sink in.
Yeah. It's true. We had to go back and watch some of the trailers a few times and kind of determine what was more interesting and what wasn't. So, anyway, let's get started. I think first we should go over top 5 games overall, regardless of console. Greg, we'll start with you. What were your top 5 games?
Number 5 was Killer Instinct. Huge fighting game fan. Number 4 was Titanfall. I love mech games and shooters, so it was a nice combo. Number 3, Bayonetta 2, because it's Bayonetta and it's awesome. Number 2 is Dead Rising 3, because I love zombie games and Dead Rising is a good series. And number 1, Kingdom Hearts 3, because everyone's been waiting for it and the game's amazing.
Okay, cool. Tom, what are your top 5s?
My best games for E3 2013 were number 5, X by Monolith Soft. Really cool RPG, JRPG. Number 4, Watch Dogs. Number 3, Smash Bros, because it looks fucking awesome. Specifically the Wii U version. Number 2, MGS5. And number 1, Dark Souls 2, because that looks amazing.
Nice.
All right, my top 5. Number 5, Final Fantasy 15. Did not even expect to see that there. Took me by surprise, but really excited for it now. Number 4 is Watch Dogs. Still stoked for that game. Been stoked for it since I saw the original reveal way back forever ago. Number 3, Dark Souls 2. This would be higher up on the list if it weren't for the fact that I've known about it for so long. Number 2 is Metal Gear Solid 5. Huge Metal Gear fan. Fucking horse stealth. What else can I say, man?
Stealth on a horse.
Number 1 of E3 2013 for me was The Division. That game, oh my god. I'm gonna have to quit my job for that game. It looks amazing.
Full-time gaming.
Full-time gamer. Screw money, I don't need it anymore. Alright, so now we've all got our top 5s out there. Let's talk about our number 1s. Tom, you said Dark Souls 2. Greg, you said Kingdom Hearts. I said The Division. 3 very different games.
Oh, yeah.
All across the board.
Yeah. Dark Souls 2, I was torn on that one. You know me, I'm a huge Dark Souls fan.
Yeah.
All 3 of us are huge Dark Souls fans. But I don't know, it doesn't... I sort of felt like The Division, MGS5, Watch Dogs, Final Fantasy 15, these games all look so next-gen to me, and so like new and fresh. And Dark Souls 2, not that it doesn't look amazing, because it does, it just didn't, I don't know, it didn't feel like it had as big of an impact this time.
In general, I'm always excited to see what From is going to do with their games. All the way back to Armored Core, I've been following what they do, and really, Dark Souls 1 made me feel something, Yeah,
absolutely.
It really, really made me feel something. And I know that the second one is going to just be expounding upon that. And I know I'm going to be obsessed with it. It's like the modern Ghosts and Goblins.
Yeah.
You're constantly dying, and you're constantly assessing your mistakes, and you're constantly getting better. So I love that, and I'm going to be able to play it soon because it's on PS3, not the next gen.
Yeah, exactly. That's nice.
That's
too.
another part of it.
The crazy thing is it actually looks better than some of the PS4 games they showed, too.
It looks amazing.
In terms of visually, I mean. Greg, you said Kingdom Hearts. That one kind of took me by surprise, to be honest. Not judging you or anything. Asshole over here.
Disney characters. What?
But yeah, looking at the other games that you mentioned, I'm kind of surprised you picked Kingdom Hearts over that. Other than being a huge Kingdom Hearts fan, can you elaborate a little bit more?
Well, most of it is, being a huge Kingdom Hearts fan. I love, when the first Kingdom Hearts came out, I was one of those people that was like super skeptical, and I was like, really? Disney characters with Final Fantasy characters? This seems really, really dumb. and it's gonna be cheesy, and it's just gonna be horrible. And then the second you turn it on, listen to the first music from the game, you realize this game is gonna be just gorgeous. And you know, I'm 30, so I grew up watching Disney films, and the redesigns of the Final Fantasy characters look really, really cool too. They have like a Disney flair to them, but they're still so Final Fantasy.
They were surprisingly able to integrate those characters into that game very well.
And it made sense, you know?
As a huge Final Fantasy fan, I never got the Disney Final Fantasy merging. I was just like, what? And
Yeah.
I got the game. I mean, I'm a few years younger than you, so I mean, I was a kid when I got that game, and I still didn't get it. And granted, I really liked the first one, but I feel like I outgrew it. And there are plenty of people my age and older who didn't outgrow it, so to speak. Not to say they're immature or anything, but they didn't outgrow Kingdom Hearts. And I feel like I did. So I don't see the appeal in it anymore. It just seems like a part of my childhood that I'm okay leaving behind, I guess.
I was older when it came out. I was in the Navy and, you know, all that stuff. So I don't know. When I got to play it and then 2 came out and it expanded on the story, and like the music, the art style, the combat, you can kind of take it or leave it. There's, you know, a few issues with it, but and it still kept that RPG feel to it, and I love RPGs. And like I remember, like one of my best memories of it is beating the game, being like a level 60, and then going, well, now that I'm like super strong and I can beat the last boss, I'm gonna go back to Hercules' world and take on all those enemies and go beat up on Sephiroth.
Yeah.
Sephiroth beat 2 times and I died. And I
Sephiroth kicks your ass.
Oh my god, it was just terrible. And, you know, it was that feel of playing, you know, like going back playing, you know, Final Fantasy VII and taking on Sephiroth and then going back and finding, you know, one of the dragons or whatever. And, you know, it's a side quest that's harder than the last boss.
Yep.
And you don't have that really anymore, you know? And, you know, but most of it might be just nostalgia. And, you know, I loved Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 and the music and the art style and all that stuff. So I might just want to, you know, relive that. You know, not every game has to be dark and gritty and shooty. So it's bright and vibrant and happy and...
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely something to be said for a feel-good game.
Yeah. And actually, you can call them feel good, but those games are pretty freaking bleak, man. I mean, you can call it feel good because of the fact that it is bright and happy in a lot of ways, but I mean, going back to the first Kingdom Hearts, that game was pretty bleak and hopeless feeling. You know, there are a lot of fun-loving parts and like magical parts, but I mean, damn, that game was heavy, man. It really was. And the second one was very much that way as well. But
it was
anyway.
nice that they had that, you know, feel, because too many people thought it was just going to be for kids.
Yeah.
When they showed that, hey, we actually do hit on some serious stuff too, like, you know, Sora's, you know, need to want to live a better life, and also wanting to protect his friends and the girl that he may or may not be in love with, and, you know, just growing up and all that stuff.
Yeah, having to fight his best friend and everything. Mine, The Division, I don't know why this game didn't blow you guys away as much as it did me. It looks so amazing to me. It looks like everything I've wanted in a third-person shooter ever. It's got RPG elements. It looks like it has a big open world feel. The drop-in, drop-out multiplayer looks really interesting to me. Visually, it looks stunning. I loved all the little details, like the individual pieces of glass falling off of the car's windows when they were shooting bullet holes through it. And, you know, when he's walking along the car and he closes the door, you know, like little animations like that, I just get sucked into it. That's the kind of stuff that really immerses you in the world and makes it feel believable. I can tell you right now, I'm going to play that game so many hours. It's going to be stupid how much I'm going to play that game.
Right.
Next up, worst 5 games. Tom, we'll start with you this time.
Okay, so number 5, Killer Instinct, Mad Catz Fight Stick Edition. I just didn't like the presentation in general. They pimped out Twitch, and it was just really kind of cringeworthy presentation. Number 4, Assassin's Creed 3.54, Black Flag. Yeah, that demo froze several times and lagged out. 3, UFC, the game. Basically, they tried to get a whole bunch of crowd reaction. They tried to pump up the crowd by having real fighters there. And it was just dead silence, basically. Number 1, Halo 5, Mos Eisley Edition. Yeah. Basically, Master Chief in a cloak in the desert. Print that shit.
All right, Greg, your top 5 or bottom 5, whatever.
All right. Number 5, I got World of Tanks because he was like really talking. And yes, I understand World of Tanks is really popular on PC and all that. But besides the fact that during that whole trailer, nobody hit anything, it was a bunch of tanks running around missing. It was like a bunch of stormtroopers in tanks. Nobody hit anything, and it was sad. Let's see. Number 4 is Rise. That game, when they initially showed it with the move controls, it looked interesting because it looked like it was actually going to use the move properly. And now they've got a more, advanced version of the move coming. And instead of taking it with that, they went ahead and made it a big old QuickTime event with a couple of walkie around parts. And it looks gorgeous, but I can take games with a lot of QuickTime events. I loved Asura's Wrath, but I don't feel like this game needed it. It looked better before. Number 3 is D4, because I didn't understand anything in that trailer. It had a nice art style, but it was just stuff all over the place, and the lady smelled them in a cat suit, and I didn't know. I was scared, and I ran away. So number 2 is EA Sports, everything, because I don't play sports games unless it's like maybe Fight Night. I might pop it. But for the most part, I don't play EA Sports games, and them talking about, super ball dribbling physics, I didn't care. And the last one was Rabbids Invasion, because that just looks horrible. Just abysmal.
My top 5 worst games. Number 5 is Rabbids Invasion. That one's so low on the list for me because it's not a game. It's a interactive TV show for kids. I never really understood the Rabbids. I mean, I guess they're supposed to be cute and funny and whatever, but like they were in a Rayman mini game thing, and then all of a sudden they started getting their own franchise. What? I don't really even understand how the interaction is supposed to work. Like, how many times? Like, what's the replay value on this thing? I don't get it. Next for me was all the sports games. Again, not a sports fan, definitely not a sports games fan, but the thing that really resonated with me, why it was so boring and pointless, the whole dribble physics thing. Literally, all they had to bring to the table that seemed innovative or new in any way at all, they're like, oh look, the ball is animated separately from the characters now, and we never did that before.
Dribble tech, or bounce tech.
Nobody gives a shit. You know what? The people who play those games don't give a shit. The people who don't play the games don't give a shit. It's really impressive that you did that, and from a technical standpoint, that's really cool. Doesn't make for a good presentation. I'm sorry. Number 3, Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare. I was a little bit torn on this one, because the game actually does look fun, but I don't know, man. It just seems so out of place to me. It seemed like it didn't really make any sense why they were making it. It doesn't seem like the Plants vs. Zombies fans really want this game. I don't know. It's another one that the presentation was kind of just eh. Number 2, the new Halo. I just, you know what, man. I'm a Halo fan too. This was a terrible reveal. It was horrible as a reveal trailer, and I think that this is across the board for all of us. This worst 5, not necessarily the fault of the game itself. Presentation is shit. This reveal trailer sucked. Why the fuck is Master Chief wearing a cloak?
How is he protecting his armor? Like, he's got armor underneath.
He's wearing armor that he goes into open space in. He's been on fucking desert places before. He doesn't need a goddamn cloak to protect his armor. They did that for the sake of it being dramatic, and it's stupid. They should have made a better trailer.
He's fallen from orbit in that armor, but it can't handle sand.
Maybe it's gonna be like Castaway Halo, where you don't have any of like your technological shit.
No, listen, they did it. They did it specifically for dramatic effect. They wanted you to be in suspense until he opened up the lid. Again, it's stupid. It was a bad trailer. They should have made a better trailer. They could have done something so much fucking more interesting than that. Terrible. Number 1, worst game of E3 2013 for me, Splinter Cell Blacklist. You know what? Probably gonna be a fun game. This trailer pissed me off. It actually angered me. There was way too much going on. It didn't show any actual gameplay. It just like threw a bunch of shit in your face and then it's like Splinter Cell. Blah. Again, this game's probably gonna be good. I'm probably gonna play it. Worst game of E3 because the trailer sucked dick. It's the worst trailer I saw throughout the whole conference. I hate it.
That's interesting. So your top 1 is a Tom Clancy game, and your top 1 worst is a Tom Clancy game too. The Division is a Tom Clancy game.
The Division is Tom Clancy. Yeah. Again, though, this is the trailer. The Division showed me something that really impressed me.
Right.
Splinter Cell Blacklist didn't. It was a really horrible trailer. Very, very poorly done. It seemed like it went on forever, too. It's just like, when is this going to be over? It was, again, probably going to be a good game. I'm probably going to buy it. But yeah, the trailer sucked. It left a negative impression on me after I saw it.
You know what's funny about that, though? I totally forgot about that. When you first said it, I was like, "What? Splinter Cell looks awesome!" And you said the trailer, I was like, "Oh man, I forgot about that."
Oh, I forgot about how shitty that trailer was.
There was like 10 screens that were all showing something completely different from one another, and they would zoom in and show a little bit of gameplay, but there was still like 7 screens along the edge.
It was all like flashing and back out colors and fucking words popping out, and it's all like, "Rah, Splinter Cell!" And it's like, Splinter Cell's a sneaking game, guys.
It makes it look like fucking Mission Impossible or some bullshit like that.
Alright, let's go on. Best console exclusives. Let's start with the Xbox One.
The one that I'm looking the most to is Dead Rising 3. Because, you know, I remember when Dead Rising 1 came out and they were like, "Hey, look at all these crazy freaking zombies. There's like 10 million look at all these zombies. It's insane." And then when I saw the trailer, and then when I saw the gameplay for Dead Rising 3, it brought me back to that because they showed a lot of zombies. And it wasn't in, you know, a little parking garage area. It was open in like a street. And they were, you know, freaking nut to butt, just all the way down the street. And it was insane. And it looks like it's going to be a more serious Dead Rising. So, which, you know, you kind of, I don't know how to feel about that because I like, you know, running around in a toot-toot on a big wheel shooting zombies with a super soaker.
Right.
But, you know.
Running around as Mega Man.
Yeah, running around as Mega Man shooting Mega Busters at people. But, you know, it's still going to have, I'm sure it's still going to be, you know, somewhat comedic and all that stuff. But it looks really cool and it looks like it's going to push how many zombies or how many, you know, characters you can have on screen at once and what you can do. And it'll be interesting to see how it runs, because Dead Rising 1 and 2 ran okay, but you can still see like some stuff going on. It looks awesome.
All right.
Yep.
Tom, top one for Microsoft.
Alrighty, my top one for Microsoft was also Dead Rising 3. They showed off a lot of really, really big crowds of zombies, like you were saying, and just in general, like the draw distance was really impressive. You almost don't see that in a lot of zombie games. It's very very open-ended looking. They showed off the car crashing through the sides of buildings and the pillars, taking out pillars. That looked really smooth. The guns look awesome. Shooting guns looks really satisfying. Overall, it just looks really, really fun.
All right. My number one was actually Sunset Overdrive. I'm disappointed that they didn't show any real gameplay. The whole idea of this game just blew me away. I'm so disappointed that it's going to be an Xbox One exclusive because I'm probably not going to get an Xbox One. At least I'm not planning on it right now. And I really, really want to play that game. And the team that's making it are amazing. They're mostly the team that worked on the Resistance games. They got a good track record behind them. And this game just looks so cool. I love the comic book style. It's going to be like an open world, almost beat 'em up, I guess probably third person kind of thing, with parkour and improvised weapons, and you shoot somebody in the head and it makes smoke that says bang, and like, oh man, it just looks like it's going to be a ton of fun. Definitely looks like it'd be a great online multiplayer game. Really excited to play it. If Xbox One has more games like this, I would probably consider getting one. And that's saying a lot, because I don't want to spend $600 on that thing. All right. Next up is number one game for Nintendo.
So Nintendo didn't do an open press conference this time. They did their Nintendo Direct, which is kind of something they already do regularly. But basically, the main focus, it seemed, was showing off Smash Brothers. And I was pretty satisfied with a lot of the stuff they showed and a lot of stuff they did. They were really hands-on with everything. They actually had the director, Masahiro Sakurai. He played and showed off Mega Man, and he showed off Wii Fit Girl. I think they also showed off the Animal Crossing character. And the Mega Man reveal, by far, gameplay-wise, there was no comparison. Like, that was really, really fun to watch. They fell at a disadvantage this time because they didn't have a new, quote-unquote, new console to reveal or anything. They just had to support the one that's out.
They had some good games, though. They definitely had a good lineup there. Greg, what was your number one for Nintendo?
I'm going to go ahead and cheat because I couldn't decide between two of them. One of them is Bayonetta 2, and the other one is X, or Cross, or however you say it. Like I said, I'm a big JRPG fan. I'm a fan of mech games, and open world mech Monster Hunter looking game where you fly around in your mech and it can turn into a car or a jet, and it just looks like everything awesome in Japan in one game. It just looks insane to play, and it's going to be a JRPG open world, and it's got big old monsters like Monster Hunter, and you got mechs that are Transformers, and awesome. And then there's Bayonetta 2, which it's Bayonetta 2. It's made by Platinum Games, which is my absolute favorite studio. They have yet to put out a game that I didn't like, and that's going all the way back to when they were Clover Studio. I love Bayonetta. I love the combat. I love the difficulty spike in it. And it's one of those games that if you die, it wasn't the game's fault. It was your fault. And you're going to die a lot. So it was your fault, a lot. And art style is amazing and gorgeous, and I love the fact that a lot of Platinum Games, they put the models in the game so that you can like go around and look at all the particulars. And since I'm a character modeler, I love looking at their models so much. So yeah, Bayonetta 2, X, my Wii U or Nintendo games.
Okay. For my number one Nintendo game, I have Wonderful 101 written down. And that game looks amazing. Again, that's another one that I have no intention of buying a Wii U, but damn it, man, that one makes me want to buy one. But I kind of have to mirror you on that on X because I had forgotten how amazing that looked. And when I was watching the trailer for it, I was under the impression it was a cross-platform game for some reason. and it's not.
No.
No,
It's not.
And it's
Also,
not.
there's a rumor going around that it's a working title, and that it might have an extended name, like X is just the first letter.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've done the Xeno, you know, there was Xeno years in the past and stuff like that, so...
A lot of people seem to think it's also just going to be a Xenoblade game.
Yeah.
But I think it's... The trailer is very telling that it's going to be something new. Especially with all the mech combat, like... it just looks good.
It looks really sick. I agree with you. So, I'm kind of torn between those two. I mean, that one did impress me a little bit more, but Wonderful 101 I saw before E3, and that one, I saw it like the day before E3, and that one kind of stuck in my mind, like, holy shit, I gotta get a Wii U, you know?
Well, yeah, 'cause it's made by Platinum Games.
Yeah, it looks awesome. Let's move along to Sony. Greg, what was your number one Sony game?
This was difficult because Sony didn't have a lot of exclusive games that really like jumped out at me. So the one that I picked was Rain, because one thing that Sony has been doing lately that I really like is they've been pushing indie games to the forefront on their console, you know, Journey and,
Yeah,
you know,
putting them right out there.
and really pushing them to say, hey, look at these games. You don't need a huge budget to make gorgeous, immersive games. Clearly. And
Craig, what the fuck was that?
It was...
you know, and Rain looks just like a really thought-provoking, just interesting gameplay. I like how, you know, the character is invisible and the only time you can really see the person is when they're in the rain. And then when they go inside somewhere, you see their wet little footprints, and then the footprints start drying out the further they walk. And you can still knock stuff off. It looks really, really cool. So Rain is my PS exclusive game that I choose.
Yeah. Okay, Tom.
All right, so yeah, like Greg was saying, it was pretty tough to decide because there was a pretty limited selection. As far as games that they showed at the press conference, they started out with showing The Last of Us a little bit more than we had seen previously. And that game is amazing. It looks amazing. It feels amazing. I don't know. But as far as stuff they showed at the press conference, I was really blown away by Final Fantasy 15. That would have made my top 5 list if there were just a couple more numbers. But yeah, it had really great cutscene graphics, gameplay graphics, nice Japanese voiceover. It just looked really fun.
Yeah, although it's not an exclusive.
No,
But,
it's going to be up for Xbox One as well, which is kind of, I guess you were saying that 13 is on Xbox. But yeah, they showed it, so I'm cheating.
Yeah, well, I guess it could be number one of the conference, I guess. Sony's conference was a little weird because they didn't just do one console like Microsoft did. And they, Nintendo did the 3DS and the Wii U, but they showed off quite a few Wii U games. Sony only had a few PS4 games, and a couple of them were only cinematic trailers, so it was kind of tough for me as well. And then they had Vita and PS3 games on top of that, so it's kind of strange one to pick. The most impressive exclusive title for me was probably Drive Club. I like racing games. I haven't played a good one that I really got into in a while. The whole social aspect and customization, everything they've shown us so far in Drive Club looks amazing. I have a PlayStation Plus membership, so when I get the PS4, I'm gonna get it for free. So I'm super excited to play it. Other than that, one of the most jaw-dropping games for me during that conference is also Final Fantasy 15. Again, huge Final Fantasy fan, but man, 13 for me was lackluster in a lot of ways, and don't care for 11 or 14, the MMOs, and didn't like 12, so I mean, it feels like it's been forever since I've played a really good Final Fantasy game. And this is the first one that's got me excited, because they're doing something different with the combat. It looks like it's we don't know a whole lot about how it works yet, but the whole action, action RPG style is something that Final Fantasy hasn't really done, or at least not done very well. The closest thing was probably their MMO style gameplay. So I don't know. It's a lot to look forward to. I think it's going to be really interesting, and I'm excited to see a Final Fantasy game that doesn't have lightning in it, because we did Final Fantasy 13, Final Fantasy 13-2, and now we have Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13. Fucking stop it. Stop it. No more Final Fantasy 13. Stop. Give me 15, give me other things. Lightning had a boring personality anyway.
You know what's sad about that? They keep making 13, and nobody really likes 13, but they just refuse to make that reboot of 7.
People would buy the reboot of 7. Everybody would buy it. They wouldn't even have to do anything new in the game. They could literally make a super high resolution, like completely reworked graphical version of the game, exactly the same in every other way, and people would drop $60 on it over and over and over again like it's nobody's business.
Ooh. Could you imagine if they did Final Fantasy VII the way that Capcom's doing DuckTales?
Oh, don't even start with me.
I just ruined everyone's day.
No, don't even start with me. No, instead we're getting Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13. Fucking welcome to Tangent Cast, motherfuckers.
Lightning Returns.
All right.
Sounds so dumb.
Before we go off on that for too long, overall best conference, I think we all came away thinking the same thing. And it's kind of an interesting topic because my top number one conference was Sony. Greg, what was your number one conference?
Sony.
Tom?
Sony.
Yeah, so we all thought they had the best conference. We all agreed on that, and we talked about it after E3 and days later, and even today we still saying Sony had the best conference. But we were just talking about how hard of a time we had picking the best game because there weren't a whole lot of great games that they showed. Granted, all the games they showed looked good for the most part, but I guess it was just the exclusives didn't impress us that much.
Yeah.
Which again, that's kind of ironic that we all said they had the best conference. So I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think what it boils down to is obviously there was the 1-2 punch to Microsoft, and then they just kicked him in the nuts and threw him on the ground and stomped on their face.
Yeah, it was a curb stomping.
Yeah, it was
horrible.
It was a brutal kick in the face that they gave to Microsoft, and then that blew everybody away, and everybody got excited. And then Microsoft came out and they pulled their 180 and they say they're not doing all their their DRM and whatnot, and they're gonna have used games and yada yada yada. So that granted, that levels the playing field for the consoles quite a bit. The biggest difference at this point now is going to be PS4 will be the more powerful console from a hardware perspective. At least on paper it is. Obviously we haven't seen these things in action yet, but on paper it's the more powerful console. And there's a $100 price difference, PS4 being cheaper. Other than that, Microsoft has leveled the playing field a little bit, but damn it, Sony just had a great presentation. They did an excellent job of pumping up everybody.
Yeah.
Even before their announcement on their used game policy, everybody was pumped. People were freaking out, cheering in that crowd. Everybody was going crazy.
The screen was gorgeous. The way that like wrapped around.
It was a great presentation overall.
Yeah.
Yeah, the attitude was there. The other two really just felt like shareholder meetings, especially Nintendo. Nintendo was so cut and dry.
How did you guys feel about Aisha Tyler and Ubisoft's conference?
Oh my god, I can't wait to play that game, guys. That looked incredible.
Oh my god, right? I can't wait to get it.
Hashtag Girlwood.
I am slightly more forgiving because after, initially I was, irritated, and then after she had came out and said that a lot of that was improv, I was like, well, she did better than what I would have did.
Yeah.
I stood there peeing myself.
Well, what does that say about Ubisoft that they had to get somebody to improv it rather than Like, it's fucking E3.
You know what?
They
You know
probably
that I
told her some of the stuff that was going to come out so that she was more prepared.
She personally didn't do terribly under the circumstances, I guess, but it was very cringeworthy while it happened.
yeah.
It was
But
just hard to sit through.
I feel bad talking bad about her because I think Aisha Tyler, I keep messing up her name. I think she's freaking hilarious. I love her in Archer. She is awesome. You know,
And
she's got a great personality. She's really,
crazy.
really freaking funny. And, you know, props to her for, you know, she was talking in the post show with IGN, talking about how busy she is. She had to do her TV show, and then she had to go and do this other thing, and then go and do E3. Then she's got to rush to an award ceremony for something different, and like she's still doing Archer stuff on the side. It's like craziness. And props to her for coming out and doing that. And I can only imagine how much pressure she had to feel going out there, not even knowing what most of the games she was talking about were. She specifically said she hadn't seen most of them until she saw the trailers on stage.
Yeah.
And then, you know, going out there in front of all those people and trying to be funny. But I guess my big issue is that she wasn't funny on stage. It was pretty cringeworthy. But again, it was, you know, she didn't have a persona she was trying to play. She didn't, you know, she wasn't Lana from Archer. She was trying to be funny at a game conference. So, you know, again, I gotta give her a little bit of slack, but it was
It just wasn't a perfect fit.
yeah, it was pretty
Honestly, and honestly, in her defense, when was the last time you were watching E3 and there was an announcer there and they were hilarious or mildly funny, slightly amusing?
bad. It's Ridge
very true.
Racer. Ridge Racer.
They're all horrible. So,
Yeah, that's true.
and you could either have her and, you know, some of her bombing jokes, or you can have the UFC people stand there and crickets. So,
Yeah,
You can have
that
Drake.
was by far worse.
You can
Way
have
worse.
Drake.
Yeah, I am a huge FIFA fan. Later. Hope you sell a bunch of copies. I'm out.
Such a great fan of FIFA.
All right, guys. I think we're starting to run out of time. But real quick, do you guys have any last words on any games you saw that maybe we didn't talk about, or maybe we didn't talk about enough? Tom, we'll start with you.
I want to talk real quick about the Wind Waker reveal that they did. It's a big, not necessarily a selling point for the console, but it was a big reveal in terms of everybody's been hearing about this. Everybody's been, you know, buzzing about it on the internet. And I expected slightly more than what they showed. Honestly, it looked like very, very slightly better than the GameCube version in my eyes. I'm obviously gonna have to get my hands on it and play it a bit, but that was a part of the Nintendo conference where I was just like, you know, I could take it or leave it, basically. X, honestly, I feel like deserves a lot more attention than it's getting. Obviously, we're all really excited about it, but if you haven't seen the trailer for it, you need to check that shit out. It looks incredible.
It might be a Wii U seller.
Oh yeah, definitely gonna be a Wii U seller. Also, Sonic Lost World.
yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
I gotta say, I can make a movie about what Sega has done wrong with the Sonic series, and they've redeemed themselves a little bit here and there, just a little bit in certain parts.
Yeah, just like
But with this game, it looks like they're going in the right direction. So I'm really
Those
excited about
classic
that. I'm
sound
really
effects.
happy. I'm really happy that it looks like they're doing what they probably should have done when they took Sonic into this generation. So yeah, I agree with you. All right, Greg, are there any last games you want to hit on?
One game that I feel has been getting shit on a lot that I think looks interesting is Knack. And yeah, it looks kind of like this kiddie, you know, goofy game that people are just going to write off. But I'm pretty sure, one, it looks amazing. Like the particle effects and like when Knack grows big and gets hit and loses some of his pieces, that stuff looks really, really cool. And it's going to be interesting seeing, you know, normally you see that kind of stuff off away or, you know, on a cutscene, but this is going to be your main character doing this stuff. So it's interesting seeing that kind of thing on your main character.
Yeah,
And-
it's going to be different for sure.
Yeah, so, and it probably won't be as kiddie as it looks It's probably going to be in the same vein as like Jack and Dexter or Ratchet and Clank. But another game is The Order, and excuse me, even though they only showed, a trailer for it, it looks really cool. It looks like it's going to be another game that's, in that steampunk kind of vein or something, and it just looks like a really cool game, and it looks different. And I'm big on different games, so
yeah, for sure. Knack, a lot of people are talking trash about it online, which is kind of weird because when I saw the original review for the PS4 and I was looking at that game and watching IGN's coverage and everything, it was getting pretty positive reception, and then at E3 it seemed to get a more negative reception. I don't really know why that happened. I think it looks interesting. I mean, sure, on one hand it looks like it's going to be kiddie or whatever, but again, so is Ratchet and Clank, and Ratchet and Clank is freaking awesome. Same thing with, I never really got that into the Jak and Daxter games, but I know that the second and third ones were really cool. And they had a pretty big cult following, They never got gigantic superstar status, but they definitely had a cult following,
Or even like Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah. I mean,
Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, I think
Bandicoot.
Knack looks like it'll be. I agree with you, Greg. I think it'll be along the same veins. And The Order, it was a cool trailer. I can't ever get that excited over a cinematic trailer. I just can't. Because you never know what the gameplay is going to look like. The Order, the trailer was really cool, but this thing could be the most generic third-person shooter in an interesting setting, or it could wind up being amazing. Who knows? I'm not going to get excited until I see a real gameplay for it.
That's kind of how I felt about Sunset Overdrive. Like the trailer itself looks cool, and you're fighting macaroni and cheese monsters, and that's awesome. And it looked really, really cool, and I really liked the style of it. But it was like the first time I saw it, I'm like, I don't know what I just watched. I don't know what any of that was. I understand that you're shooting stuff. That's it.
So we're kind of saying the same thing about two different games, but the reason why I disagree with you on Sunset Overdrive is because we know more about what it is.
Yeah.
And maybe this has more to do with the IGN's post show, because I forgot his name. Forgive me, but the dude that was on stage presenting the game, he went and spoke to the IGN guys afterwards and talked a lot about the development process and about what they're planning to do with the game. So I feel like we know more about it. We might not know what the actual gameplay looks like, but we know what it is.
Yeah, true.
We don't know that about The Order. We just saw a gameplay trailer. I mean, again, it could be absolutely amazing. I'm not saying it's not going to be. Just I didn't get excited for it. All right, so last couple things for me. Metal Gear Solid 5, huge one for me. I know I mentioned that in my top 5, but oh man, it's really exciting to see another Metal Gear Solid game. I kind of felt like the series had ended with Metal Gear Solid 4. After that game, I didn't want to see another one. It was over for me. I didn't really get excited over Metal Gear Rising because it was a side story, and it's a fun game, but it didn't feel Metal Gear to me, and it wasn't a Metal Gear Solid game. It wasn't supposed to be. But damn it, this game, Metal Gear Solid 5, looks amazing, and not just from the trailer they showed at E3, because it showed different stuff, but they showed some sneaking stuff at the trailer they posted earlier in the year. They showed a really cool sneaking segment where Snake goes over a cliff and he's got to avoid a spotlight dude, and he goes into the hidden base, and oh man, it looks amazing. I'm really excited for it. Another thing I want to mention is Oddworld New and Tasty. The Oddworld series defined my childhood. It defines a huge chunk of my life, and I've been obsessed with that series forever. I mean, I feel like I've grown up with it. I thought that the Oddworld series was dead. In fact, it was for a long time. Lorne Lanning had canceled his plans to make a new Oddworld game for years. And then once Just Add Water started, once they took over and did the Stranger's Wrath and the Munch's Odyssey HD remakes, they mentioned they were going to do an Abe remake, I started shitting my pants. And this thing is going to be it's going to be a launch title on PS4. It's going to be multi-platform, but it's going to be a launch title on PSN for PS4. So super stoked for that. It looks gorgeous. So far, I'm not in love with the particle effects. They look pretty crappy, to be honest. But the last time I saw a gameplay trailer, they had mentioned that the particle effects in that were placeholders for real particle effects. And these ones were the same. To let you know what I'm talking about, the blood splatter specifically. Like, Abe pulls a lever and the meat grinder comes down and the slig explodes, and there's just like a little bit of mist of blood. It looks horrible. And the last time that they showed this game, they had the same particle effects and they had referred to them as placeholders. So I don't know what's happening with that. But in the original Abe's Odyssey and Abe's Exodus, when you did that, when you exploded a slig, chunks of their skull flew off and hit the screen and bounced off the screen, and like just body parts flew everywhere. It was brutal as hell, and there was like this really satisfying crunch sound. In this, there wasn't. So, you know, I think they're not done with it, obviously, but I'm still really excited to play it. I'm gonna buy it day one, obviously. Anyway, I think that's about it, guys. Overall, E3 2013 was pretty friggin' exciting. We all got a lot of takeaways, a lot of games we're all excited to play. Any last words before we say goodbye?
Sports, Call of Duty.
Microsoft, you really want to get me happy? Bring back family sharing and make a Psychonauts 2.
Hopefully people will buy it this time.
All right, guys. So that's it. That's E3 2013 for us. Really excited for a lot of these games to come out, and really excited to get together again and talk about them once they do come out. So until then, thanks for listening, and goodbye.